Hello, readers. This is going to be a reading of Saturday, December 2nd from Tangerine by Edward Bloor. This corresponds to our Tangerine Independent Reading page, which is here. The YouTube link will appear here for December 2nd, and then there will eventually be a Flipgrid chat as well. Let's go ahead and get started. Saturday, December 2nd. Joey was back on the phone with me at 9 o'clock. He said, "Fisher, they haven't arrested you yet?" "No, not yet." "Hey, doesn't Betty Bright have a yellow Mustang?" "Yeah." "Well, it's parked in front of Mr. Donnelly's house." "Yeah? Maybe she's in there ratting you guys out for last night." "No, she wouldn't do that. Anyway, she doesn't have to. They know who I am, and they know where to find Tino and Victor." "Yeah, I guess so. Well, I thought you might want to know." "Sure, thanks. I'll check it out." I hopped on my bike and hurried to Mr. Donnelly's. The air was hot and still and smoke-filled. I saw the yellow Mustang up ahead. Someone was sitting in front on the passenger side. I pulled up next to the window and saw a familiar face. "Chandra?" Chandra turned her dark eyes toward me. She seemed to be miles away, lost in thought. She finally said, "Fisherman, you live around here?" "Yeah." She nodded and pointed at Mr. Donnelly's house. "Do you know this guy?" "Uh-huh, Mr. Donnelly, the sports writer." She explained, "Coach Bright and my brother Antoine are in there talking to him." She seemed to drift away again, but then she said enthusiastically, "Hey, I heard what you did last night." "Oh yeah? Did Antoine tell you?" "No, Antoine wasn't there." "No?" "No, he stayed home." She slipped back into her faraway voice. "You know, he's the star of the Lake Windsor High School football team, but he doesn't even live in Lake Windsor. He lives in Tangerine." "I understand. I kind of do the same thing. I live in Lake Windsor, but I play in Tangerine." "But you don't have to lie about what you do you? You don't have to live a lie every day of your natural born life, do you?" I shook my head no, and she continued, "That kind of lie eats away at people, day by day, till it makes them sick at heart. And that's why Antoine didn't show up to collect any awards last night. He was feeling sick at heart." I sat back on my seat and asked her as casually as I could, "Is he just feeling guilty about lying, or what?" "I don't know. I guess it's not just one thing. He felt real bad after that last game, beaten up on Tangerine High like that. They were all his homeboys, the kids he hung out with just a couple of years ago. He didn't want to beat them that bad, embarrass them like that." Chandra looked down and lowered her voice some. "And I know he felt bad about me not being able to put my own picture in the paper even though I earned the right to, about me not being able to show pride in myself because I'm afraid of giving him away, because I'm afraid of somebody looking at me and saying, 'That's Antoine's sister. How come she plays for Tangerine and he plays for Lake Windsor?'" I thought about her running from the camera and from Mr. Donnelly, and now here she was, sitting in his driveway. What was going on? I said, "Chandra, is there something else? Is there some other reason why Antoine is feeling so sick at heart?" Chandra's eyes burned into me. She answered intensely, "Yes, there's something else. They won't tell me what it is, but there's something else. Antoine was on his knees crying last night, and that wasn't about his homeboys, and that wasn't about me. He couldn't stop himself. I got scared, so I called Coach Bright. Coach and Antoine stood outside and talked for a long time, and then they came in and called up Mr. Donnelly. Now here we are." I heard the front door slam. I turned to see Betty Bright coming down the walkway towards us. Antoine and Thomas and Mr. Donnelly were still standing in the doorway, shaking hands. Betty Bright looked tired, sad-eyed, but she managed a smile when she saw me. "Paul Fisher, hey, I heard what you did last night." "Hi, Coach." She looked down at me. "Are you coming back next year?" "I sure hope so. My girl Chandra here is moving up to the high school. I was thinking of maybe trying out a boy in the goal." I laughed, but then I said, "I'll do what you say, Coach. But I don't want Chandra's job. I want Maya's." "Is that right? Okay, whatever. I want you back." I heard the front door close again. Antoine Thomas came toward us, walking slowly. He's Betty Bright's height, but wider and all muscle. She said to him, "You okay?" He answered, "Yeah," in a low, calm voice. "Then it's all taken care of?" "Yeah. He'll be running the story tomorrow." He looked down at Chandra. We're telling the truth now, understand? Don't tell anybody anything but the truth from now on. Antoine looked over at me casually. Then his eyes narrowed. Betty Bright said, This is Paul Fisher. He's one of my players." Antoine studied my face. He said, "You're Eric Fisher's little brother?" I tightened up at the sound of Eric's name. I mumbled, "Yes." Antoine said quietly, "It's time to start telling the truth, little brother. Do you understand what I'm saying?" I nodded like I understood, but I didn't, not really. Not until he added, "Don't spend your life hiding under the bleachers, little brother. The truth shall set you free." I nodded with real conviction now. I said, "Yes, yes." Betty, Bright, and Chandra were clearly puzzled, but they didn't ask any questions. Antoine said to them, "Come on, we've got one more stop to make." He looked back at me. "We've got to tell somebody else the truth." The three of them backed out and drove away quickly without another word, leaving me alone in Mr. Donnelly's driveway. I repeated to myself, under the bleachers, and I knew what the next stop was going to be. Antoine was going to the sheriff's department to tell them what he had witnessed, to tell them that he had witnessed the murder of Louise Cruz. Suddenly I was startled by the sound of a garage door opening and the sight of Mr. Donnelly backing toward me at a high speed. I had to push off quickly to get my bike out of his way. He slammed on his brakes and rolled down the window. He was all flustered. "Are you okay, Paul?" "Yes, sir." "I'm sorry. I should have been looking. There are too many kids around here. I should have been looking." "That's okay. I'm all right." He didn't say anything else. So I did. "I just talked to Betty Bright. She said that she brought Antoine Thomas to see you." "That's right. Did she tell you what we talked about?" "No, sir." Mr. Donnelly thought for a few seconds. "Then I'd better not tell you either. Let's let everybody find out the right way in tomorrow's paper. Okay, Paul?" "Okay." Mr. Donnelly pulled away, leaving me wondering what Antoine could have told him. I pulled out onto the road and started pedaling, thinking, I guess we'll all have to wait until tomorrow. I managed to avoid Mom and Dad for most of the day. I know they were in the alcove for hours with that yellow legal pad. At 5 o'clock, the three of us sat down in a circle around a pizza, but no one was hungry. Mom said to me, "We're going to have an important meeting here tomorrow at noon, Paul. We'd like you to attend." I said, "Okay." Dad added, "We've invited some people. You should be one of them." "Okay." We all picked at the pizza in silence and then all reacted to the same disturbing sound. It was the sound of a chair scraping on the floor overhead. Eric, apparently, was holed up in his room, hiding his face.